Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television. Nigeria's economic policy since independence in 1960 has shifted from an initial focus on agriculture and industrial development characterized by by development plans and indigenization degree to a state now led development model heavily influenced by oil revenue and direct control. Following period of economic stagnation and structural adjustment program, the country has pursued market-oriented reform such as national economic empowerment and development needs and development strategy needs, economic recovery plan, and more recently the removal of fuel subsidy and exchange rate unification under the current administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But how has this impacted the larger economy? I'm now being joined virtually from London, the United Kingdom, by the CEO, President CEO, Rock Global Investment Network, joining me virtually from London. Good morning, Dr. Sam Omale.
Good morning, Mr. Akogu. How are you doing?
Very well. Always a pleasure having you on the show. Let's look at the Nigerian economy. A few days ago, we celebrated 65 years of independence. I mean, looking at, let me get your holistic explanation with regards to where we are between 1960 and, of course, 2025. What do you think we have done, been able to do or to achieve within this period? 65 years is not, it's not just a number. It's a very, very long years.
Yeah. Good morning, and again, thank you for having me. Within this period, before independence and 2025, we have had about 5 major different economic policies, and I'm going to go through them straight away. Because the Nigerian economic policies since independence, have shifted between different philosophies, from inward-looking protectionism to protect our local industries in the 70s, to the market-oriented structural adjustment in the 80s, where the market forces were allowed to take over the pricing and structure of stuff. Then back to national economic planning and state intervention. These are policies that have been dominant in our journey, economic policy journey since independence. Finally, it was in 2025, we have the bold reforms under Tinubu's administration, which is focusing on fuel subsidy removal, foreign exchange unification. Key challenges also have included managing the economy's heavy reliance, on oil, diversifying the productive base, combating inflation, and improving public sector efficiency. So, if you will, I can go deeper into the various policies, or maybe when we continue. But for example, the first one I can recall is in the post-independence to 1970s, it was inward-looking, like I said, and it was state-led. The focus of government was boosting foreign trade and expanding external markets, sometimes through trade arrangements with the various parts of the world, and attempts on economic integration. The major policy thrust then was the changes in tariffs, exchange control, and import quotas were used to protect domestic industries and manage balance of trades. But the issue then was there was this heavy investment in costly, inappropriate infrastructure projects, and they neglected the core a shift. They neglected the shift or neglected the agricultural sector. So this created a lot of problems. Then if you go to the 80s, okay, go on.
Okay, Doc. Let's look at this indigenization policy that happened at the time. Before that time, we had a lot of foreign companies who were, doing so well in Nigeria there. Some of them were into car manufacturing, cement production, and so many of them were in Nigeria here. A lot of them, were into tire production as well. But with the introduction of that policy, they tend to lose some kind of interest in maintaining their investment in Nigerian economy. Will you say that was where the rain started beating us?
You are right. I think the rain started beating us from that point as well. Because when you suddenly, and it was a very swift action indeed, unprepared, the investors were not prepared. Yeah, it takes the power from them, because private businessmen and investors don't like business government intervention, and indeed the government actually, as people say, have no business in business. All government needed to do was to provide enabling environment where this industry will have thrived. Get payment from them, get enough taxes from them, get benefits from them, let them engage and employ people you want, and let them develop infrastructure. That would government should have done. But this nationalistic attitude of nationalize, and we don't have the capacity, we didn't have the capacity to manage anything. Yeah, it was definitely a disincentive to investors.
Indeed. But do you think at the time the local investors were ready for that kind of, it was like just taking, handing over a very big responsibility to someone that is not prepared?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. We're not prepared. We're not prepared for it, and I'm not even sure we still have the skill set to manage stuff. If you see what's happening in Nigeria, everything you are saying is banking and service, everything is service oriented. There are no major industries still that is in place. So at that time, we were really not prepared to take over, and we didn't have the capital, of course, and the connection, and the technology or the energy to manage to take over from these people, and it's really affected us.
Is it possible for Nigeria to recover, what we have lost from that era till date? Is it possible?
Yeah, it's very, very possible. Countries have gone through this protectionism to liberalization. They have been shifting between this continuum: liberalization, and protectionism. It's very possible. Look, investors are looking for places to put their money in. I have investment bankers in New York who are looking for projects, who want us to identify projects for them to come and build. All they need is enabling environment. And what is enabling environment? We have been emphasizing it. Is cheap energy or effective energy, road networks, infrastructure like road networks, strong telecommunication. If you want to call Nigeria, can they call at one dial? Of course, security is important for them, and rule of law. Can I get justice? There's a legal risk. If I'm in dispute with my suppliers or my employees, will I have justice? Will I be protected in the judiciary? I'm very professional, or they are compromised. So if we put our acts together, they will rush. They're rushing again. They'll come back. But they need that assurance from government. And it's only government that can provide that assurance in terms of security, in terms of rule of law, in terms of infrastructure like roads and energy. So it's very possible within a short period of time. And these people are on ground. You don't need to market anything. You don't need any road shows at all. Just put the house in order. They have their own agents. They have their scouts that are giving them country reports, country after country reports. So they know more about us than we probably would know about ourselves. So once this is put in place, people can drive and go about without any obstruction, they will come back.
Indeed. So it's not just enough for us to go out and start looking for foreign investors like we always see. They say Nigerian, government or some ministers are in so and so place to look for foreign investors. Some say you want to make your economy attractive because the investors themselves have even more information on your economy than you yourself.
Yeah, you're correct. Yes. There's no, you see, I keep saying this, two things that we're doing wrongly. Borrowing. We don't need to borrow. And going out looking for investment. We don't need it. Put the house in order. And investors, they have tons of money. Listen, interest rate on in this part of the world, in developed economies, is less than 2-3%. So that is an incentive for investment, because they need more avenues where they will earn more money on their wealth. So it's a good time to go to Africa to begin new investments, and once the environment is conducive, they will come.
Indeed. Indeed. Let's also look at this policy, Doc, National Development Plan, which was formulated in 1962, and the intention was to implement a series of national development plans aimed at fostering rapid economic growth, industrialization, and self-sufficiency. 65 years after, do you think we are heading anywhere close to this direction?
No. In fact, at the beginning, it looked as if we were, but things have gone very bad indeed. And two things: the military intervention. These are guys who have no skill set for managing civilian affairs. And they came and disrupted the whole thing. And from that point, we were ruled by decrees and on the spot, just things coming up without any due process of planning. So that opportunity that we began was disrupted in a massive way. And 30-something years after, the politicians came, and I think we can't even know. I don't even know how how we are faring better, because too much of politics have come in again, and until we were able to sit down properly and say what we really want, is it noise making, is politicking, or development? We are not going anywhere. So there's hardly anything we can cheer home about to say, oh, it's an upward trajectory. But this is possible with will, focus, visionary leadership. When this is in place, it's a matter of few years. Nigeria will arrive at where China and South Korea, India are now. We were ahead of these three places I've just mentioned in the 60s. Malaysia as well. So we are disrupted. We're disrupted by the military internet boom, and again, the politics that have come without vision, politics that have come with just power grabbing and no economic development focus. Indeed. So once we can sit down and put it together, then it tends to begin to go away. But honestly, this is not how a 65-year-old person should look like now.
Indeed. 65-year-old person should be wiser, should be at least more prosperous to some extent. Like you rightly pointed out, we need a visionary leadership for us to, for us to be able to achieve that. Let's also look at another very key policy that happened at a time. In the 70s, the shift to oil dominance. When crude oil was discovered, we tend to abandon every other sectors of the economy and focus on the oil windfall. And of course, that is what that has brought us to now. What would you like to say with regards to that?
Like you said, the policy that actually came up can be found in tariffs, the change of tariffs, also exchange control, and import quotas. They were used to protect this protectionism against the domestic industries, and also this was used to help to manage their balance of payments. So, but the actual problem that happened was because of the oil, there was heavy investment in costly and very inappropriate infrastructure projects, and it led to the neglect of the other sector. So, the discovery of oil, there's something we call the crude oil cost, or the cost of crude, or the cost of oil. Most countries, but I think that's only in Africa, where crude oil have been found, there seems to be a cost. Because what now happened was that there is this boom, sudden income that came in, and Udoja Award gave increase to salaries of civil servants. People started buying cars. There was just consumption going all over the place. And it distracted us a bit, knowing that crude oil is a very volatile market. You can predict your budget on certain figure, but the reality comes in and something has happened and the price has collapsed. Anything, war, natural causes, force majeure can happen and the crude price will just collapse. So that shift was a major dent to our growth as a country.
Indeed. Do you think that's over-reliant on crude oil? Because I recall at a time in the 70s, the then head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, did said the problem of Nigeria was actually not money or not fund, that it was how to spend it. Do you think this sort of, mindset, actually brought us where we are today?
No, I think we should just, that quote, I'm not sure the general actually made that quote or meant it the way people are saying it. I really, because I respect him a lot. And I'm telling you now that the things he has put in place is what we are still building on. In fact, there's no other government that has done any way in the economy than that period. You can say it now. Lagos, the flyovers, everything you are seeing in Lagos is Yakubu Gowon. And so it's, and don't forget that even though they were young, he had a very able deputy or a very able de facto leader in Awolowo who was producing this economic policy. So they have very solid economic policies. It could be a beer parlor talk, another, but it didn't mean that they went on a profligate spending of the resources. So, well, having said that, he had a 9-year stable government. And I think we should mention that as well. When Murtala came, if he was given time, we'll have been able to judge him. But he was there for 6 months. Then the first Buhari came. I don't know who came. Then Shagari came. He was disrupted. So Buhari came. He was disrupted. Babangida came. He had a stable 8 years, but no focus on anything. So our problem is not that statement at all. We should move from that place. We should not even go back to that place anymore. We should be talking about the current. What are we doing now? Everybody has a problem. We solve it now. What are we doing to solve the problem now?
Indeed, which is critical. There's also the monetary policy controls, at the time as well, where the government extensively used direct monetary policy instruments, including credit ceilings and exchange rate controls to guide the economy and protect the indigenous businesses and farmers. Do you think that was done in good faith?
Yeah, definitely. That's what every emerging economy will do. And it helped. You cannot just float your foreign exchange, for example, or devalue it if you're not a net exporter. So that controlled, managed economy is the beginning of most economies anyway. Because at that point, if we had floated the foreign exchange when we're net importer, then it's to our disadvantage. So countries manipulate foreign exchange up to now. Even advanced countries, China does that. They can manipulate it because they have most of them are net exporters, meaning their export is more than their import, and therefore, when you buy their stuff cheaply, and they can produce more, and there's growth in the economy. So those things were done in good faith, and they actually stabilized the economy. I think the issue at that time was, like I said, there's some infrastructural projects. We're calling them white elephants in those days that never saw the light of day, and so there were some missteps definitely. But the use of tariffs, exchange control, and import quotas to protect domestic industries were done in good faith.
Talking about being done in good faith, today we are floated at our currency now, which is now we're now operating a free market now. if at that time what was done was to, protect the local businesses and of course our farmers, what are we doing now? Are we doing the same now to protect the same kind of people? Because businesses in Nigeria now are suffering from the exchange rate flotation by the federal government.
Yeah, I think my first take on the flotation of the exchange. I think the first thing, the reason why I support it and I like it was, number one, the way it was being operated in recent years was a fraud. Fraud in the sense that we had 3 to 4 exchanges within an economy. I'm pretty sure it's unthinkable. I mean, it's not done anywhere in the world because it creates a lot of arbitrages. And I think that's the major purpose where this present government say, hey, let's have only one, let's make it one, so that all these people who are feeding on the arbitrages will not be in existence. And to that point, yes. So the flotation of floating the exchange rate now is appropriate, is timely, and all it needs to be done now is to be backed up by industrialization. It should be backed up by massive manufacturing. It should be backed up by agricultural sector boosting that will. All it needs to is economic activities to begin to thrive, and we'll be able to come to terms where we are. Again, I keep saying, the value of your currency is dependent on the exchange rate. I mean, the import and import. It's a demand. If you don't demand foreign stuff, you don't need foreign exchange. As long as you don't go buy orange juice as is sent from London, as far as you don't buy apples. I see apples that have tax in pounds, and that's outrageous. You see items that are being imported whole, already made into supermarkets in Nigerian market. That was killing the economy. You see,
Indeed,
generators, suppliers, merchants deliberately killing the electricity subsector of Nigeria. These are the problems of the economy, not the floating. The floating is good because it creates confidence with investors who now know that, look, if I bring in my currency, if I bring in my money, this is the exchange rate that I'm going to get it back. So they factor the exchange rate risk into the investment. But where you have 5,001 windows, I mean, it's fraudulent, and the arbitrage only favored very, very few people. So honestly, I support the flotation of the naira. No question about that.
But the flotation of the naira has, to some extent, crippled the economy because we are not really a currency of international value. I mean, competing against the USD, the pounds, and of course the euro, with the currency like naira, do you think? We'll take the right decision. Like you said, you alluded to some facts. But do you think, considering the fact that we are not a currency of international value, do we think we can compete? Because we know some, and we're not a producing nation as well. We don't export.
But that's where your problem is. And that's where our problem is. It's not that's what I'm saying. If you make yourself relevant, you'll be expensive. You'll be in demand. Look, and these are simple policies to be taken. If, for example, the government says, hey, I want food security, end of hunger, food security, for example, that alone can knock out most demand for food importation. Look, in those days, in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, and relative to 90s, not many people were going abroad to go to school. In fact, at my time, if you came back from America with a degree, we didn't even respect your degree. That's how good Nigerian education was. In fact, it's only people that couldn't make JAMB or pass to university in Nigeria that went abroad. But the reverse is the case. So, how much money did we need for school fees then? Almost nothing.
All right.
But today, education is taking billions of dollars in school fees. I see universities, I see colleges coming to hotels in Nigeria, marketing their education. Government should look into that kind of stuff. I see foreign companies establishing education and universities, all kind of stuff in Nigeria, collecting fees in foreign exchange. That should be stopped. Medical tourism. We're not good. People were coming to Nigeria on medical checkups. Now we all go out for headache for everything. This is where the problem is. Education, health tourism.
All right, Prof. Doctor.
And also vacation. Why can't we do vacation in Nigeria? I came in Lufthansa the other night. Everywhere is paid. If you go to Bay, where are they going? Why can't we stay at home and develop this economy? But every day the planes are loading off, and guess what? Not one Nigerian aircraft or airline, apart from Airpeace that is trying to start up something, is benefiting from this. These are all capital flights, and these are the things we should be looking at.
All right, Doc. Let's look at, there's a very important policy that we cannot, excuse here, Structural Adjustment Program, SAP, under the President Ibrahim Babangida, with the focus really, was to, introduce more like a trade liberalization as well, but it was not fully implemented. What would you say to that? I mean, sometimes we import policies without proper implementation.
Yeah, that wasn't a matter of implementation. I think it was implemented. The thing was that structural adjustment program was the worst thing that ever happened to Nigerian economy, because this were IMF designed policy imposed on a poor country like Nigeria. IMF is an investment bank. IMF is a profit-making bank. They give out loans. They want their loan to be secured. They are in for profit. So when they're dealing with clients, it's like a bank deals with a client. The bank has what they call KYC, know your customers. So the IMF designed this pill for us. If you notice that time, I think we were students then, we protested against some of these things. The focus of the structural adjustment was, in quote, to diversify the economy and to reduce dependence on oil and to achieve fiscal balance. Very good on paper. But what are the policies that follow that? Devaluation of the naira, removal of subsidies, privatization, deregulation of interest rates. As a growing economy, as a developing economy, there should be some managed interest rates or managed exchange rates at that point. But to liberalize it and to regularize it was not appropriate. And what was the outcome? The outcome was that the manufacturing sector crumbled straight away. They crumbled. Then there was increase in rural poverty. Well, around that time, I was in the university. The manufacturing sector crumbled, and rural poverty shot up. Unemployment grew in a very, very significant way. So it was one of the starting points of our decline. It disrupted so many things, and again, government should now realize that any policy that is imposed on us or that is coming to us should be seen as a suggestion, but should be put in place, or it should be implemented with the interest of your own economy in view first. IMF is interested in getting their money back, so they will impose all kind of stuff. They want not to increase salaries. They wanted to sack people so that you can have money to pay them back. That's the principle. So indeed, I think Okongo was one. The Minister of Finance then was very popular then, and he was an IMF staff. He worked with the IMF before. So these are the kind of people that disrupted our growth. I can say that with authority.
Indeed, and of course, that decision, like you rightly said, was one of the worst economic decisions Nigeria has ever made. But under Obasanjo, we had a national economic empowerment and development strategy needs. During this era, the need focus on improving the macroeconomic environment and implementing comprehensive reforms. Do you think that was done within the 8 years of President Olusegun Obasanjo?
The problem with Nigeria that there's too much words, there's too much talk, there's too much fine paper. We write well, but talk is cheap. To have these acronyms that sound so good, but you can't see any impact. So the question is, what impact did needs? What can we see? And most policies and institutions that government bring out, sometimes well intentioned, but it's always scuttled. It's always, it becomes a tool for corruption. And that's what the problem is. Because if the I mean, this about your didn't he introduce Operation Green Revolution? I think it was him as a military person. As a military person. I mean, then he came in, I said he was a farmer. So they have this language, but on paper, Nigeria needs to bring actionable policies, actionable policy that can be measured. Who was monitoring the performance of those policies? None. I think there's an office of budget performance now. I think so. But what are they doing? So we bring policies out, budgets out, but we don't follow up on meeting their targets and analyzing what will be the reason why we're not attaining these goals. So yeah.
All right, Doc. Under Buhari, the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, we have the ERGP, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, was also introduced. Different government coming up with different economic policies that at the end of the day doesn't really transform to economic benefits for the people. I mean, is it about coming up with titles for economic growth that doesn't really, at the end of the day, translate to growth and development?
Exactly what I've just said. You see, we have these grandiose, fantastic phrases and coinages that sometimes don't actually make sense. And they write up and broadcast and they go back to sleep. I mean, Buhari actually took us backwards. So there's nothing, in fact, that what has caused the problem for this present government, that is trying to dig us out from where we're actually buried. Because I think Buhari's era, how to go down, is one of the worst. This guy never changed his ministers. He just appointed them. We didn't have ministers for about 6 months. We were so unprepared. So from the go, we're already losing 1 year into his 8 years something. And this guy that came in, having a tenure assurance, we're not performing anything. This guy who was in charge of aviation, that guy came to the UK here and did some funny stuff, put some plane on. They did all kinds of stuff that gets me upset each time I go back to that administration. It had to be one of the worst. And we're praying that this government, they're trying, in fact, that's what's making this government to have difficulties, because he is to have to fight to dig us out and to put us in a good pedestrian. And that's why we have to give it time to actualize what they want to do, having learned from the mistakes of the past.
My worry is that as we talk about Tinubu government, which his key reform so far has been the subsidy removal, the exchange rate flotation, and of course the new tax reform that is expected to be implemented from January as well. But a lot of people will say that successive governments have always been coming out to say they are cleaning the messes of their predecessors. Yes. What will you say to that? Because I'm afraid that the next person that will come after Tinubu will also come and say the same thing.
Yeah, and we should hold them accountable. The people should hold them accountable. But for this government, it's just 2 years. And so let's see how the implementation is going on. We should still believe. Look, any government that comes to power, we should believe in that government. Okay, we should believe in that government. Give it time to implement what they want to do. The removal of subsidy. I hear now that a lot of money is being given to the states. So the problem: who's monitoring the states? Who's holding them accountable? So the savings from the subsidy is being sent massively to the states. They're receiving more money, and we're not hearing what they're doing.
All right.
So we should just give this government time, but government also should be coming to be updating the people on performance. Yes, we have done this.
Doc, 2 years, 2 years plus is a lot of time. It does seem like the government has even abandoned governance now, and they are now focusing on politics ahead of 2027 already. Well, I must thank you, CEO, President, Rock Global Investment Network, for your time on Business Daily today. We appreciate your contributions.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. With that, is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I'm Yusuf Akubu.